The Wisconsin Badgers going to be on the road here, taking on the Indiana Hoosiers. And I'm already seeing a little bit of movement here on the total this morning. 45 and a half, the current total here, leaning to the over in this one. We're just seeing this one sneak up here just a little bit this morning for Wisconsin on the road here. A 9.5 point favorite. This one opened higher for sure, opened as high as 11, I believe, when we were on that Circa preview show on Sunday. And it's gone all the way down here to 9.5. Total open 42.5. And like I said, man, up to 45.5 already here. Let's investigate here a little bit on the show as we take a look at the action for Saturday in the Big Ten. All right, Wisconsin on the road right now, 2-1 road record. They're 5-3. 5-3 overall for IU. They're 2-6. It's been a big disappointment, certainly, right now. 12 of the last 15 meetings between these two teams have gone over the total, and that's where we've seen the move, certainly, this week. But why, for me, I guess, is what I would say. Are we seeing a move to the total over? I'm not sure I'm not sure I'm understanding, unless it's going to be just too easy for Wisconsin here on the road. But I don't know if uh, that doesn't feel like the right position or strategy necessarily here in this one. I would think it might be a little bit too high at this point. Now, I know the Sharps are probably going to be on the over here in this one. I've already seen Steam on the over. Now, I don't always equate Steam, um, to the Sharp move. To me, I'm more interested in seeing maybe a little bit of reverse line, and again, but we've seen that as well because this thing has been as low. I mentioned 42.5, but it kind of went back to 43.5 a little bit. Ferner said, "Who's scoring? Too high. Who's scoring?" That's what I think. That's what I feel like. Now, I know Ferner's joking to a certain extent, and we put emphasis on some of the sayings. I mean, when we say who's scoring, right? Maybe it, but 38 points, 40 points, that seems more realistic for me in a matchup like this. I don't care about maybe the series history here in this one or something like that. But um, let's see what the series hit. Last year was last meeting. These two teams haven't been meeting actually very frequently right now. In fact, this is the first meeting in 3 years. So I don't even know what's worth looking at. IU won 14-6 in the last meeting 3 years ago. Thanks, Ron. Hopefully you're still there. Appreciate you. See you later. Verner says he's got this one in the 35s. Do I need to even uh, uh, break it down necessarily here after seeing Verner's pick? Well, we can talk a little bit about it, but I'm going to go under here with Verner, under 45, 45. And let me put it down to 45. Let me try to at least, you know, because there is 45s mostly, but there's a 45s and a halves out there if you're going to go with me. um, I don't know if it'll continue to go up necessarily. Wisconsin coming off the just a 24-10 loss against Ohio State. We were looking at whiskey in that one, and before that they beat Illinois 25-21 on the road. Got the money there, and they've also covered at Purdue this season. Did lose. Remember that opener to Washington, that game at Washington State? Not an opener, but they lost at Washington State. But 2-0 so far with covers on the Big Ten road for Wisconsin. For IU, they've lost 4 straight now, 3 on the road. They did lose at home to Rutgers 31-14. Now, they did cover last week against Penn State. We did take Indiana, so they did come up with a pretty big effort there. And the move has definitely been on Indiana here. Like I said, it opened as high as 11, down to 9.5. So maybe because of that little improvement, maybe we could look to Indiana, but I'll take the under in this one. Yep. And Daryl said, when you don't have Mordecai in there, they'll go to the running game. I mean, Locke has been uh, fine so far. Just one interception for Locke, but he doesn't have quite the downfield acumen right now, anyway, that Mordecai possesses. So they definitely having to change there a little bit. That also could be part of the move. I think Daryl's right on there. All right, more Big Ten action and maybe some common opponent here a little bit. We can talk about or intertwine it here with undefeated Ohio State going in to take on Rutgers. And well, the move's been on Rutgers. There's no doubt about that. This one opened as high as minus 20 when we were on that preview show with the opening lines. And no matter how you look at it, this move has been on Rutgers, taking the 3 touchdowns on the road. That's the way it looks to me. Total here opened 44.5. It's now down to 42.5. And that's another move that I can totally respect and kind of get behind. It feels like to me with a move to the under here with Ohio State and Rutgers. Um, this one opened at circa, let's see, 44.5. I think that was actually the DraftKings number that we had quoted. I thought the circa number may have been 43, but whatever the case may be, it seems like market wide right now we are going down here in this one. For Ohio State, they've covered 6 of the last 9 meetings between these two. I think that might be all their meetings. In the Big Ten so far. Ohio State, obviously, we mentioned that they are 8-0, but just 4-4 against the spread, and most notably, I would think 1-7 to the under so far this season. Rutgers is 4-4, but Ohio State. Hey, defense travels. We know what Ohio State's been up to this season. I mean, they just, like I said, they did not cover that game at Wisconsin by a hook, no doubt. I mean, it was close. Maybe some people did get the money, but they won that one 24-10, giving up just 10 points. They gave up just 12 points, did Ohio State, to Penn State. Here, they gave up 12 points to Penn State. They gave up just 7 points to Purdue, 17 to Maryland, 14 to Notre Dame, 10 to Western Kentucky, 7 to Youngstown, 3 to IU. You get the picture. This one's going under Ohio State. If they win or get close, I mean, how are they going to even get this game even close to an over? I would think this one's going under here in this one. And that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the under. Ohio State can win in the under for Ferner. All right. Well, the Nebraska Cornhuskers is going to be on the road against Sparty. And, well, what's the big news at Michigan State? Well, right now it's Urban Meyer. Could Urban Meyer be headed to East Lansing to be the next coach of Sparty? Well, that's something that'll have to be debated in the off season. But right now, when you're sitting there at 2-6, Michigan State going to be looking to make, after what's gone on this season, a disaster of a season in Nebraska coming in here 5-3. Look out, Husker Nation. Here, this one's been on the move a little bit. I think it was as high as 4 though. So we've had to see some action on Michigan State here. It opened as low as -2 and went up to as high as -4. Let me make sure of that. Um, I did see an opener of 4 at Bovada, and they've moved down here to 3 as well. It's 3 pretty much everywhere, and look at that total, 34.5. The highest I saw it was 35.5. So not too much of a move, but definitely a move to the under here between Nebraska and Michigan State. These two teams haven't met for a couple of years. They met back in 2021. Michigan State won at home here 23-20. And look, Nebraska, I believe they got their, after all, what's went on here. I believe they got their man in Matt Rule. Um, I still, I'm still think he's could coach in the NFL, whatever. This is if you got the coaching job at Nebraska and you can look get this team to a bowl here. They could get their sixth win here in this one. This one's going to be tough. I mean, I'm not so sure I want any part of Nebraska in this game, and probably I'm going to be on Michigan State. But I'd be worried about Nebraska. They did win at Illinois 20-7, but they lost at Colorado, of course. Were blown out. They did lose at Minnesota. They did get the money in that one, but they've played 5 of their last 6 games at home. They've been very cozy, very comfortable. And while Michigan State has not been terrific, they're on a big time losing streak right now. This to me is going to be the spot. I'm going to be on Michigan State here, probably on the money line to get the victory here. They've lost 6 in a row. They just lost at Minnesota by 15 points. Of course, they were blown out by Michigan. They lost at Rutgers, but did get the money in that one. They also got a push at Iowa, but at home now. They got blown out by Maryland at home. They got blown out by Washington at home, but I'm going to come in with them here and take these points. And Ferner says Nebraska is awful. They kind of are, but they are 5-3, Ferner. So, is everybody under them awful? Have they played an easy schedule? In your opinion, maybe it's these 3 straight victories: Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue. They also beat Northern Illinois. They beat Louisiana Tech. So this is good for Nebraska right now. Believe me. Um, and I don't want to say complacent. Rule is he still kind of figuring out what's going on at Nebraska? Maybe. And Michigan State in need of something here because it's been certainly a rough situation with the Spartans this year, given everything that's gone on with the program this year, last year. The athletic department in general has been a mess. The Arkansas Razorbacks going to take on the Florida Gators here in this one. College football action. This one's for Saturday for Arkansas here on the road. Just a 2-6 record at this point. They are winless on the road so far this season. And Florida going to be favored at home -6. Yeah, mostly sixes across the board right now, and the total definitely 48.5 or 49 at this point. This has been a real tough game for Arkansas actually over the last decade or so. They are just 2-9 against the spread in their last 11 meetings against the Gators. We saw this game open up here mostly at 6. It did go down to 5, but I think we're seeing mostly 6s and 5.5s currently. Total open 52.5, and it's been bet down to 48.5 here right now. So, uh, Florida 9-3-1 to the under in their last 13 games as a favorite. But Arkansas has been pretty much just the opposite. They've gone over in 7 of their last 11, dating back to last season. For Florida, they're off the loss to Georgia. They lost that one by 23 points. We were on the dogs in that one, the Bulldogs in that one. And Florida did win at South Carolina in a wild one before that. They also clobbered Vandy. They lost at UK. They have a home win over Tennessee as well. For Arkansas, they've lost now 6 in a row, and things are spiraling here a little bit out of control for the Hogs. They're coming off the loss to Mississippi State, where they could just manage 3 points in a 7-3 loss in that one. So currently, I would think, man, I want to try to find a spot to take Arkansas to compete here. It's interesting that the line to me is only 6. Um, you know, Mertz, I know everybody's down on Mertz, but 2,100 yards, 14 touchdowns, 2 interceptions this season. Uh, I don't know. I want to take the points. I don't trust Florida to get a number. That's just all there is to it. Especially, look, I don't know if the game feels like the moves on the under feels like uh I do respect the move to the under at this point. I'm not sure I'm going to get involved with the total just yet. I'm going to take Arkansas here plus the points. Um, they lost to Alabama on the road by just 3 points. They were getting 19. They lost to Ole Miss on the road, getting 13 points. They lost by 7. We know Ole Miss is having a tremendous season as well. So maybe a little bit of a tough schedule for Arkansas. They've lost to, I mean, look at this stretch of games. They lost to LSU. Well, they lost to BYU as a favorite, no excuse. Uh, After that, they lost at LSU, lost to A&M, lost at Ole Miss, lost at Alabama, and then against Mississippi State, should have won that one, or should have. They didn't play well at all. I'll take Arkansas. We're staying in the SEC with Texas A&M and Ole Miss in this one, and Ole Miss is a favorite at home right now by 3 points, huh? This one's kind of been all over the place. It's currently 3, and when we were on the preview show, the opening line show on Sunday, um, I want to say it opened up as high as 5. Yeah, we saw it open 4 or 5. I think it opened 5 at Circa, 4 at DraftKings. I saw an early number of 1, but that was maybe before we knew, or not before we knew, but Mississippi continues to keep rolling right now. We just mentioned their great streak here currently, and um, they're having a great season, Ole Miss, and they're a 3 point favorite here. Feels, I don't know, feels like maybe Ole Miss, but um, I'm not sure yet about the side. I'm more interested, I think, in the total here at 54. Now, I want to say some steam came in here just about a half an hour ago on this game on the under. So went from 54 and a half down to 54. It opened 57 now. Now with this one, we did see a little bit more of a move here. Off of that opener of 57 and a half at Circa. Now everyone else pretty much opened up 54, but I don't know. I thought that early number was kind of was pretty good actually. I'm going to end up on the over in this game. I mean, it's Ole Miss to me that's having, you know, the great season right now with their incredible record, 7-1, 5-0 at home. Yeah, A&M is 5-3, but they're 1-2 on the road here. 7 of the last 8 meetings between these two teams have gone under, but This is different, I think, with Ole Miss this season. They're averaging, nearly 39 points a game with Dart, 2,000 yards passing so far this season, 14 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And for A&M, I think they've had a pretty good, you know, quarterbacking situation this season as well, with Max and with Weigman in there. They have over 2,100 yards passing as well so far, combined. So I'm going to take the over with these two teams. Texas A&M and Ole Miss. You look at last game, Ole Miss, they put up 33 points in the win over Vandy. They did get the money in that one. They also covered at Auburn as a 6.5 point favorite. They won by 7. So they're playing games really close to their spreads. They beat LSU at home. Remember that game had 104 points there. And A&M, they've done a nice job. They scored 30 points at home against South Carolina last week. They did not cover, probably finished under their team total in that one as well. But, they played tougher teams, losing to Tennessee and Alabama. When they played Arkansas, they scored 34 points on the road, got the money there in a pretty outstanding performance. They also clubbed Auburn at home, scoring 27. So also, one other game in particular that to note was against Miami on the road, and that one finished with 81 points in a 48-33 loss for A&M at Miami, but 80 points scored in that one. So both these teams have had a couple of games where they've really put up a massive number. I'll take the over here, Texas A&M and Ole Miss. Kansas State at Texas. Here, Big 12, actually, last I checked, Texas isn't in the SEC just yet. And a good thing, too, because here they're going to be favored by just 4 points right now. Wow, what an interesting move here for Kansas State. Look, this one had a look ahead as high as 8. Now, when it opened on Sunday, yeah, it was mostly maybe 6.5 here, maybe even as low as down to 5. But now we're all the way down to a 4 in this game for Texas against K State. Yeah, we know that K State's got a pretty nice club, no doubt about it, and they've done a nice job this season. But you're still dealing with a Texas team with pretty high aspirations as well. With their 7-1 record, they got to think they're breathing here as we wait tonight. Don't forget tonight we're going to get the top 4. I think it comes out at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific time. I was asking yesterday when it was. Hello to Jason. Nice to see you today. Jace, good to see you. And here's Texas at home for Ferner. So for me, though, Texas, they're coming off the convincing win over BYU. And, BYU's like, is this what life is going to be like in the Big 12? Well, maybe not. Texas is leaving, and BYU lost 35-6 in that game. Texas beat Houston 31-24. They were a 3-touchdown favorite or more in that game. They also lost to OU at home as a similar favorite to this, a very similar favorite. The spread was 4, and Oklahoma won that game. So, in a game that featured 64 points, you look at some of these conference games for Texas. 55 in the Houston game, 54 in the KU game. So here we're dealing with a total of 51. Now, Kansas State, I think the one reason why the line might be moving now, these games, maybe not the best opponents, but not terrible either. They beat the last 2 opponents, Houston and TCU, by a combined 82-3. Hey, Percent Better is here today. Nice to see you, Percent Better. Nice. He's got the first quarter to go over 10. He's got the first half to go over 25, and I will cap it by going over in the full game. Me and Percent Better, we're going to roll through this game, and I'll take this one to go over Look, it says 51 on screen. I might have to update it. No, I'm showing it down to 50 and a half is in some places. So if anything, that line is okay. We'll take over. If percent better has the first quarter over and percent better has the first half over, I will finish the job and say it goes. Now, I hope percent better isn't like thinking there's going to be a big turn in the second half, but I'll take the over for the full game. And thanks to percent better for making me feel confident in that. This one opened as high as 54 and a half, now down to 51 or even 50 and a half we're seeing here at this point. I'll take over. So I'm going to fade the move. I'm going to fade the sharps here on this one. Don't accuse me of always chasing the steam like some people do. All right, ACC action here with the uh, two be- uh, two best teams, I guess. I mean, Duke struggled obviously, so Notre Dame and Clemson. This is a big deal here with Notre Dame coming in with their 7-2 record. Clemson, I say best in the ACC. I mean, I'm still kind of holding on to the glory days a little bit with Dabo. Look, they'll figure it out. I feel like they'll figure it out. I don't feel like Clemson's going to be dropping off the face of the earth. They just, maybe these coaches are a little hard headed. Why Sweeney would say, "Hey, we're not interested in players coming in the transfer," it doesn't make any sense. Um, all these are student athletes looking for a place to, play their sports and maybe make a little money nowadays and all that. Um, why wouldn't you be interested in players coming out of the transfer portal? Makes no sense. So Clemson will figure it out. They'll start to be more open minded as far as that is concerned, and things will work out in the end. But right now, it's not working out, and Clemson's been overrated all year. Not only is Clemson just 4-4 in conference, but they're 2-6 ATS. So hasn't been great for sure. Notre Dame, they've just been dominating ever since coming into the ACC. They've just destroyed it. So far, Notre Dame now 11-1 in their last 12 conference games against the spread as they continue to just rough up the competition here in conference play. So why wouldn't they come in and handle another opponent here in Clemson that I don't know. The offense is pretty anemic. We know that. They scored just 17 points on the road last week against NC State. They were favored in that game by 10 points, and they lost that game outright. They also lost at Miami 28-20 as a 6.5 point favorite. So why they continue to be favored in any of these games? They were favored by 3 touchdowns against Wake. Okay, they should be favored against Wake, but they only won by 5 points. Now they did win at Syracuse 31-14, but that was as Syracuse was kind of starting a little bit of a tailspin. They lost at Florida State 31-24. For Notre Dame, coming off a dominating victory over Pitt. Uh, Pitt wasn't ready to fly on that one, but still impressive for Notre Dame, a 3 touchdown favorite. They absolutely crushed in that game. They also, of course, before that, beat up on their traditional rival USC at home. So they do have a road loss at Louisville, but we know what's been going on with Louisville this season, so no problem there. They also won at Duke. That was a pretty good win, even though we know Duke has been, lost their didn't have their quarterback or whatever, but also played that Ohio State game. Remember, so no problem. This one's going under. I mean, come on. How is this one ever going to be into the 40s? I would think in this one. I'm not into it at all. I want the under here with Notre Dame and Clemson. I would think this game's going to be played I would think, closer to 38 points. Felt like that game. Who was talking earlier about, this one will be 38? Here's Ferner on Notre Dame. Mike's on Notre Dame. And Ferner says, you know what? I'll lay a few extra points here and get a little plus money on Notre Dame. They win and cover every ACC game. And when Clemson will make the turn, when they'll turn the corner, I don't know if it'll be this year. But they're going to have to be a little bit more open minded If everybody else is doing it, you should do it too. You're Clemson. No need to be left behind thinking you can attract 4 year student athletes because you know what? If your 4 year student athlete isn't finding his way to the starting lineup, whether he's good enough or not, uh, he'd probably transfer out. So, what are you going to do? Just keep bringing in young players that are going to transfer out when they can't start? Everyone, you got to play the same game as everybody else, Clemson. All right, Georgia Tech and Virginia, not a necessarily great game on paper, but definitely one worth talking about. You got to be proud for Virginia, proud of Virginia, what they've done this season, considering the tragedy last year that really left the program shaken, the campus shaken, and uh, you know the team coming into the season with a lot of you know bummer here. Yeah, they're 2-6, but boy, just seeing the way they played last week, it just felt real good, and it feels to me like Virginia is, making strides. So they won that game against Carolina 46-42 as a 12-point dog at home. Remember, they've won 2 of 3 now, including a win at Miami. So I think Virginia, safe to say, feels like to me they have made some big time strides here towards the middle of the season and getting better. And I expect from here Virginia to improve this year, next year. I think it's on the way up. It's already reflected, I think, in the line here this week. They're favored by 1.5 or 2 points. In fact, I saw it as high as 3, but there's been some buyback here on Georgia Tech. Total feels way too high for me at 54.5. Let's make sure. Is that thing moved in the last no 54.5? Now when we were on the opening line show at Circa, this game opened up as low as 49.5, and when I saw that I was actually okay with it at that point. Now I wasn't processing. I'm talking about when I got off the air. I wasn't processing it necessarily when I was on the show, but the fact that it's up to 54.5 right now has definitely caught my attention. Now, these teams have been going over all season, no doubt about it. But I don't know if against one another if that's going to necessarily result in the case, even though, I mean, Georgia Tech, they've gone over in 7 of their last 9 games dating back to last season. Let's see here. And for Virginia, they've gone 9-2-1 to the over, or I'm sorry, 6-2-1 to the over in their last 9 games overall. Virginia scored 26 in the loss to Miami last week, but that was a cover. They also scored 31 in the win at North Carolina. But I feel like this game, to me, feels like a different type of game when playing each other here. And at 54.5, I'm going to end up on the under in this one. And let me see if I have a comparable game here for Georgia Tech. When they played at Wake Forest as a 3.5 point favorite, the final score was 30-16. That had a total of 59.5. Wake Forest was favored in that game, but it went well under by 15.5, 16.5 points or so, 16 points, and ended up 30-16. So I'm going to end up on the under here in this one with Georgia Tech and Virginia. All right, defense. Anybody? Arizona State's going to take on Utah, and boy, Arizona State has just done a terrific job. Utah's done pretty well too. Where they maybe had some clunkers that maybe we were expecting a little bit better, but ASU's done a nice job defensively of late as well, and they're kind of attracting a lot of attention for their play of late. They come in with just a 2-6 record right now, and they are 0-2 on the road. But Given what happened in that last game, I thought everyone was pretty shocked, pleased, surprised with the way Arizona State played in that last contest. So they come on the road here against a Utah team that is 6-2, 4-1 at home, but they had a rough outing last time, of course. You're losing that game to Oregon 35-6, and really just fell flat in a game that they, were going to expected to use that defense to compete against the Ducks, and it did not happen. Of course, they won at USC and they beat Cal before that, so they had lots of momentum coming in, and it just didn't work out. It just didn't work out in that big game. But here, favored now by what, 11 points in this one, and yeah, mostly 11. Look, DraftKings opened this game as high as -15. Now, most of the openers came lower, mostly around 12 or so. So maybe we've seen only a point and a half move in favor of ASU. And it really because ASU is coming off the 38-27 season-changing win over Washington State. They were going through a massive, massive dry spell. They had lost 6 straight games. They only had scored 7 points the week prior against Washington. But they actually, you look at the teams they were playing. It was a little bit of a tough schedule for ASU, and for them, look, they had losses to, I mentioned Washington, they lost 15-7. Colorado, they lost 27-24. That was a push. That was at home. They lost at Cal, but they were a big dog. They got the money. They were getting 5 touchdowns from USC, and they got the money. So, Arizona State, tough schedule. They've covered some numbers certainly this season. You look at 2-6 record, but 4-3-1 against the spread. In fact, some people will report to be 5-1 there. These teams are combined 4-12 to the under this season. We'll mention right here because percent better where it says where do you get your trend data? And are you just talking about um, those type of trends? Where, like I just said, for example, Utah, they're 6-2 to the under in their last 8 games overall, and Arizona State, they're also 6-2 to the under. Well, I just mentioned both teams are combined 4-12 to the under. So there's a few different places, percent better that I like to use. I like to uh, I use Don Best. I subscribe to that, and they have like a little database you can kind of call up. But I think if I can say some of the site, maybe Covers has pretty good trend data when you go to their matchups page. They're also Splash Blog does a pretty interesting job with Tom Cunningham, and they're starting to get things going. They got a nice little trend sheet. What else do you guys like? Let me see what other sites. The VSIN site, I like using the VSIN site. They kind of list the trends there as well. So I don't know. They seem to be on a lot of different sites, but and I don't know if I really prefer one or the other, but because some sites do different type. I'm not really one to look at. Um, Let me turn let's just make the play and make comment on this real quick. We're almost done, so I'll get you out of here. Thank you. Percent better. Yeah. Let me make the pick here, and I'm going to add a little bit more information to that in this one because I do want to. I do want. I hope I don't forget here what I'm trying to say because I want to get the pick out on this game, and then give you some more. Okay, you like the data there it covers. Yeah. No, it is. It's definitely okay. So let me see here. Arizona State and Utah. I lost my place here a little bit. um, as far as my play is concerned. Okay, here we go. All right, I am taking the points with ASU in this one. The move's been on ASU. I'm not going to give it out as a premium, but I'm pretty happy and impressed with what ASU has done. Not sure about Utah to uh, maybe blow anybody out at this point. They're the better team, no doubt. ASU's played a tough schedule. I'm going to trust that Utah does not get the money here, laying the points at home. Earlier this season, they laid 4 touchdowns to Weber. They didn't get it done. They did get that money against Cal. We'll see. I'm going to take ASU. A great matchup here for the commander of one of the games involving the commander in chief trophy. You think of the Army Navy game, but it's Air Force. Sometimes has been winning this trophy. We think of the Army Navy game because of the pomp and circumstance in the last game of the year, and I love the Army Navy game. I absolutely make it a point to watch that game every year. I've ditched work to watch. I've never been. That's on the bucket list if anybody wants to. And I don't know, maybe they'll bring it back out to the West Coast again. uh, Army Navy, this is Army and Air Force. Here's the thing, look at the total, it's 32. uh, Service Academy games continue on this massive run of unders. And, it's not just Army Navy games, it is Air Force games as well when they are involved in the matchups with one another. This total has already dropped massively. Uh, I guess don't forget, don't bury the lead. Air Force does come into this game with an 8-0 record. Um, they do not have a shot uh, at the BCS. I mean, even if they went undefeated, I just don't see a path. Even if all the teams knocked each other out with one loss, I just don't see a path for Air Force to get into the BCS playoffs. But we'll see. We'll see what the polls say today and how far down they are. I mean, they certainly aren't going to be top 10 or anything like that just yet. 17 of the last 22 meetings between these teams have gone under. Air Force, also, let's see, Army, um, 20, let's see, 35, and well, they got a lot of transpoint in the under. That's all. Here's the thing: this season, these two teams are both 4-4 to the on the over under. But when the service academies meet for whatever we know the reason. They mostly run the ball. Time ticks away. They're very good strategically in these games. Defense is good. Defense better be good, right? We don't want bad defense with the military teams. That would be a bad long term strategy for the health of our country. So they better have good defenses. Anyways, Air Force comes in with an 8-0 record. Still, they are 5-3 against the spread. Army 2-6, 2-5 against the number right now. So this one will be played, um, whatever it's called now, Mile High Stadium. This is they're playing this one in an NFL stadium in the Broncos Stadium. Air Force, certain extent, is the home team here. Their games are in Colorado Springs, so there's a little bit of altitude um, adjustment for the West Point uh, uh, cadets to come in here and play this game. Now, this total opened mostly around 36. It did open as high as 37 and a half at some spots, and you got to get on it early. Everyone's going to move on this game under. I'm not going to give it out as a premium play here. I'm giving it out. I'm giving it out right here on the show, and I probably try to buy it up just a little bit. Um, 32, it's kind of a weird number to a certain extent. And I would think you'd have to at least get it to 34. And I don't know what's going to cost you. But you could just play it small, I guess, and still play it at 32. Like I said, all the numbers are good to me. I'm playing it under. And I would think Army and Air Force, look, talk about these thread the needle specials, right? You could figure this one out pretty pretty easy, I would think. What is the score of this one going to be? If you 24-6, is that right? 24-6, 24-7, right there. It can't get 25 is like one of the hardest numbers to achieve in football, even with one of these weird games, right? That's why I always say you got to be realistic in the scoring a little bit when you look at spreads. So 32, you divide it in half, 16. You add 9 points to each team, you've got 25-15. Or well, I mean that's still, or that's not right. What am I talking about? 25. I said it right the first time. 16, 25 to 6, 24 to, I said 24-6, right? That's 30 points. 25 doesn't work. 25 is very hard to land on in a football score. Um, it's probably one of the hardest. So 24 points, that's pretty popular. 26 is hard to land on too. Um, so anyways, that's where the score is supposed to land: 24-6, 27-7, 27-6, 27-7, 24-7, just somewhere right along in there. So you're gonna have to make the decision on what you want to do. I'll just go under. So I guess if I'm going under, and well, I didn't necessarily have a play just yet on the game on the side, so maybe I just better hold off before I uh, spout off the wrong team here, but I think I know. Uh, I think I know where I'm going with the matchup for sure, and then we're gonna. I don't know what your preferred military method is, but I like to travel by air, and uh, that doesn't mean Air Force travels by air. We know how they travel, but in military terms, anyways, I'll take the under here as my free play. I think all the values left. You could get 33 though out there for sure right now. I think there will be some people that still will say I don't care. Not everyone knows that all the military matchups go under at this. I mean, I guess everyone does know at this point. That bets feels like, but just been a massive run of unders for these you know military games. That's just the way it's been going, especially the Army Navy game. But right now, just a massive, massive streak. We know Army Navy's gone under in 16 consecutive games. But one thing about some of these games and the way they're going right now is that we think of the games, all these games in the games of going under, 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 and they keep going under, but the total keeps going lower too. And if you look at the final score in comparison to what the total was, there are plenty of games that go over. For example, um, while these games may be going under in the total, for example, there were several games where the totals were 37, 38, or something, and the games were landing 35. So it still goes under, but now that we're making these adjustments even further, for example, the total at 33 and 32, if there were 35, obviously it's going to go over. So all right, Ferner. Oh, thank you, Ferner, and thank you to your daughter as well.